Close to the water, right? Yeah.
Tax posted all the projects.
Okay. Going
What's we like to
to,
say? Public housing units.
all right, we're gonna open the meeting,
When I grew up, project was perfectly fine.
in case everybody's ready for that.
Well, they did drive nicer cars than me.
So, this meeting is now open, and we're gonna open, the public hearing that we continued from our last meeting. And we're gonna continue the public hearing that we opened to our next meeting, correct?
Correct.
So the public hearing on the land taking for the fire station is being continued once again due to some issues that the owner is having with another one of their owners. So that hearing is going to be continued.
So we'll need you to read the motion in the documents, the first sentence of the recommended action. You don't need to read the rest of the document.
Which motion?
I'll make the motion. Move to continue this public hearing.
Oh, okay. Move to continue this public hearing to June 26th, Maynard Board of Selectmen meeting to await the title clearing that is expected to occur on June 21st.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Do we have to do a roll call for that one, Sarah?
No.
Okay, so that hearing is now officially continued. Okay, so we're going a little out of order now. We will, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Do you have any public comments this evening?
Mr. Chairman, is the hearing closed, or was there going to be comments on the hearing,
What hearing?
the one you just continued?
So I continued it, I didn't close it. What's the question?
Well, I thought we were going to hear from the attorney what exactly the particulars are. There's some pretty complicated things here. I'd like to know how much the liens are, and I'd like to know a little bit about
How much the what's are?
the liens on the land are.
I don't think they're any of our business. I think the hearing's been continued, so the hearing is continued to the 26th. I think she's only here just to make sure that we continue it properly. I don't think,
I mean, I can, try to answer any questions you have about the specifics, but the liens, my understanding is that the liens on the property are the concerns of the owner and the mortgagees. And by the time the town gets to the point where we're going to actually do the taking, they won't be at issue anymore.
If I might, currently I'm the chairman of the Fire Station Building Committee.
wait, what are you doing?
I like this comment.
This is a public comment?
Whatever you want it to be.
Go ahead.
We heard, we're designing a fire station for a specific piece of property. So since January, I've heard different things about the property. So the liens will be resolved whenever it's going to be resolved. I'm not sure that it makes financial sense for spending money to design a building. I thought we were going to hear about next week being when we take it. We can take the property as I understand it, whether the liens are resolved or the liens not resolved or anything else. If we don't, and we're spending money to design a building, and I understand council may say there's no risk of not getting it, but I don't want to go back to town meeting and we spent $832,000 and possibly don't have the land. That's my question.
So my understanding of it from council is that we are going to take the property. If it's not done by the end of the week, we're going to take it anyway.
That's what I want to hear.
So, yeah, okay, but what the liens are and who the people involved in the liens are, none of our business.
Well, I think we need to make sure that if we...
Other than we want to be nosy, it's really not any of the concern of the town of Maynard. So we're going to do the taking, whether they are done with their legal issues next week. One of the reasons why we're allowing them to do it is because we want certain things from them when building starts, like a place to stage equipment, a place to stage
I understand
product.
all that.
So we're kind of just doing this as a, kind of a, thank you very much. We'd like to use a little bit of land to store the equipment and some of the building materials. So they've asked us to kind of go along, so that's the only reason why we're doing it this way.
Well, when we take the property, if the liens aren't resolved, we assume the liens. So we need to know, are the liens more than $460,000, for example?
By
So
liens,
it is our business.
by liens, are you under the assumption that, are you talking about the existing mortgages on the property?
I don't know what the liens are, what the encumbrances are.
There are existing mortgages on the property, and the owner is in the process of foreclosing on those mortgages. So once those are foreclosed on, they're extinguished. Notwithstanding, even if the owner didn't foreclose on the mortgages before the town took it, the town's taking operates to extinguish them. Because this is a friendly taking, so to speak, the town has opted to afford the owner a little bit of time to get its affairs in orders, which will only simplify the damages awards after the town takes it. So if the town took it with all of the mortgages, the mortgagees and the owner would have to essentially fight amongst themselves to determine who is entitled to the damages. But because the mortgages are foreclosable, the owner is going to exercise its right of foreclosure. So that way they won't have to get involved in parsing out who is entitled to what damages after the fact.
Correct.
So it's really just it's a paperwork thing that kind of operates to assist the owner as a thank you.
We've been waiting for this for a number of weeks.
Correct,
you're
yeah.
now
This has
saying-
actually been the quickest foreclosure process that I've
Well, this-
seen.
So now we're saying that'll be done by next week
Well,
versus
This,
this week or last week or the week before or the week before.
the latest closing, the latest delay in this has nothing to do with either of the two parties or any of the legal counsel. The delay has something to do with the sheriff who has to deliver the paperwork back and forth. There's a problem with the sheriff has with the paperwork. So that's why there's a delay. The delay was caused by the sheriff's office. That's why things got pushed back. So everything that was supposed to happen to allow us to do the closing prior to tonight has happened, except for the fact that the sheriff hasn't delivered the paperwork to the proper parties yet.
Which should happen tomorrow.
Yeah,
The sale
correct.
should happen Thursday. And if it doesn't, everyone understands that the town's going to move forward with the taking next week, irrespective of whether or not they've got their foreclosures handled.
Okay. So, since Sarah is here, we're going to take a little bit of liberty with the agenda and go out of order. We're going to take item 17, which is a TA candidate discussion, out of order and talk about that now. And just so everybody knows, we have to send back to Mike Noble and the search committee the responsibility of reopening the search because we missed the deadline, which was basically June 15th. And after we were, our original choice, Jason Silva, accepted the job at Marblehead. I talked to him the next morning, and he confirmed that. We tried to schedule an emergency meeting to do something before the deadline passed. We were unable to do so because of open meeting laws and posting regulations. So here we are today, and we have to send the issue back to Mike Noble and the search committee, which is what we're going to do. I've kind of called Mike and told him that, likelihood that was what was going to happen, but I'll officially do it tonight in an email, and he will reconvene with his committee, and they'll make a determination as to what they're going to do next.
Question that I have is when you read the language of the charter, the options for what the Board of Selectmen must do, or what the charter tells us the Board of Selectmen must do, is to return it as you've suggested. But then it says that the search committee shall, and the word is pretty clear from my understanding of language, shall means shall, reopen the search and actually come forward with I don't have the language in front of me because I couldn't bring it up fast enough. But new, not candidates, but there's a term they use. Not candidates.
Solicit more
Solicit more
nominees.
Nominees, which to me means that basically the process starts over. Because they have to solicit, you have to reach out to get people, unless they go from a list that they've already presumably removed names from. It seems to me that the process needs to start over.
Without any more specific direction in the charter or the town's personnel policy document, the selection committee has fairly broad discretion to run and develop the process as they see fit. I don't see anything in the charter or the town's policies that limit the screening policy quite as much as perhaps you might see as requiring them to have new people or open this or re-advertise that.
But shall solicit new nominees.
But I don't think that stops them from going back to the list that they already had of original candidates and just expanding who the finalists are and re-presenting those finalists to the board.
Solicit doesn't mean that they
Correct.
present, the solicit doesn't mean that they present new ones either. But anyways, so, I understand it's important, but really, in talking to Lisa Mead over the past few days, since, I started talking to her on Friday, I think that as of right now, we've met our responsibility to the process, and that is that we're gonna send it back to the committee, and if they have any questions for Lisa around the items that you just mentioned, David, or that we're talking about, they'll ask them, and then they will present back to us, and we, back to where we started, 3 weeks ago.
So unfortunately, that means when we reconvene, Justine's not allowed to vote, right? So we only have 4. There's no way around that. I guess that's a question for town council. So one of our incoming selectmen was on the search committee, or is on the search committee. Is there any way she can vote when they present the next round of finalists to us?
One of your incoming selectmen?
Is on the search committee for the TA.
Oh, okay.
So being on the committee earlier, we had thought that she wouldn't, part of why we had tried to get the process in before the board
was
changes.
before she was sworn in as
Yeah,
selectman.
but now that we're back in that situation, is there any way we can include her?
She hasn't been sworn in yet.
Lisa already addressed this.
That she couldn't do both.
And
Yeah,
there's no way to,
We didn't even, it wasn't a matter of that, it was a matter, we've got the names on the 16th, we only had 30 days,
right.
but,
They could appoint new people to the search committee. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but
Yeah, I just,
the board can put new people on the search committee if you're worried about the search committee not being full.
well, I think it's more important to have her opinion and vote on the board of selectmen when she comes on, given we're back in this situation, than to have her on the search committee.
unless she resigns from that committee. I don't know.
I need to look at the timeline a little bit more closely,
Okay,
because that really could make or break any answer.
yeah, okay.
Is the timeline, the sequence of events, when she was appointed, when any decisions were made by her as member of the committee.
Which is my thoughts is that she was elected by the town to kind of represent the town's interest, and that's a big decision, picking our new TA. Like, I'd hope that she'd have the opportunity to be involved in that decision as a board member,
Right.
or at least have her opinion heard, even if she couldn't vote, she could be involved in discussion.
You said Lisa addressed this? Was it this same specific question?
Not the
I
same
don't
specific
wanna-
question.
Yeah.
When Justine St. John pulled papers, she had already been put on the committee, and the question was called then about whether she could serve on the search committee and vote as a sitting select person. And the answer was no, she couldn't do both. She elected to stay on the search committee because the intention was to complete the process before July 1st.
Right.
But what you're asking now is if they're going to recommend a whole new slate of people, whether they're from the existing pool or not, if she's not part of that recommendation,
Right,
could she be sitting on the board and vote?
right.
And the nuance there is she did do interviews and stuff with some of the existing people.
It would be hard. I think that probably a recusal would be the best, but I can take a closer look at the timeline
Okay.
But really, it will probably depend on to what extent the screening committee is going to revisit existing, resumes that they already reviewed and that sort of thing.
Okay.
It seems to me that it's only fair that, we've talked about this on other issues, but that the incoming selectmen, given that they'll be the ones that are working with this person going forward, are the ones that should participate. I think it leads further credence to my point to the committee that they should start the process over.
Which, as I said, I think that, if the committee elects to,
I mean, many towns do it. Actually, most towns, when they have an issue that comes up, end up having the search committee repeat itself. It's not unusual at all. I mean, I see it all the time.
Okay. All right, we have some minutes to accept. And make a motion that we move to accept and approve the meeting minutes of June 5th, 2018 as shown. Give a second.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or concerns about the June 5th minutes? All those in favor? Correspondence items A through E. Make a motion that we move to accept the list of correspondences as shown A through E.
I'll second. Oh, you got it, Terrence.
Okay.
I have a question or comment, really, on
Okay.
correspondence. Specifically, the water ban. I realize what's in our packet is nothing more than what was given to Town Hall to read over the town-wide report or whatever. But I'm a little concerned because I've heard from a lot of people that watch our meetings or attend our meetings or whatever, and what is posted on the town website is not what we were told at our meeting that we voted on. The way that I think most of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, fellow board members, but the way I understood it from Aaron at the time was this was a crucial emergency and nothing can happen outdoors except for fire trucks and emergencies and that type of thing. I think it was very, very limited. People were told that, people heard that, people responded to that, and then you look at the website, and the website has a whole litany of things. It's almost as if it's more broad than what we had when we had a ban on before we put the ban on.
We were told at our last meeting that you were going to handheld watering of, what is it, there's like just a couple things.
Yeah, can I address the
Yeah.
comment? All right. So what it was, it's an increased restriction. So the calendar annual restriction we put in every year that we had established May 1st was a 9 to 5
Yep.
non-essential outdoor water ban.
Yep.
So after 5 p.m. and before 9 a.m., you can use any type of watering outside.
Yep.
During 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., you can only use non-essential water, and that's what's defined on the town website. And that's right from our Water Management Act permit. So non-essential is for life and health and safety, handheld watering, irrigation of public athletic fields after the hours of 5 p.m. and before 9 a.m., for vehicle operator safety only. It's listed, and that's what DEP is recommending to us. So the timeline, when we met and the board authorized an increase in the water restriction, I met with DEP after that, and what they recommended was being consistent with your permit. Watch your resources and watch the system and what we're able to pump and manufacture for water. And if we're able to keep up with that, then keep that in place and then elevate it as the season goes on. If we get into a drought state or we have a system failure, do an emergency and nothing at all. So what they're recommending is not, what they say is non-essential outdoor water.
So there has been, from when you sat here, there has been sort of a relaxation of what you presented to us.
So I think what you guys authorized was up to a level of an outdoor water ban.
I think we authorized the level of an outdoor water ban is what the way.
We do have an outdoor water ban. There's no non-essential. So really, if you shouldn't be using the water, if you can afford not to use the water, we're telling people to not use the water. So what we're allowing them to do is use it for essential purposes only. And essential is life and safety is what's considered. And those items that are listed on the website is what DEP considers for life and safety and for health reasons. They include hand watering of vegetables and gardens and lawn, but that's their call. That's not something that I created.
Yeah, I just think that, and, you know, learning experiences are always helpful, but I think the communication on it was pretty weak in that people, it was very confusing. And when people called and said, what's the ban? And the ban that was presented here is different than what's the ban that is presented on the, I have to believe that that's the case.
Aaron, I'm more confused, so just for clarification, it is okay to use a hand device to water like gardens and flowers and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So hand watering is considered considered by DEP as an essential use. So you can hand water.
The definition of hand water is a little confusing though, because hand watering also means you can use a hose that's running off a faucet.
That's what they
And
say.
that kind of goes against the greater
That-
conservation good, right?
I agree. Yeah, I
Is
agree.
that hand watering?
Yeah,
I agree,
exactly.
and I've had the conversation multiple times with DEP, they've come out to the site since then, we've met with them, we had a phone call, I had a phone call with them. You know, the Monday after we made the call and asked what, you know, please define exactly what we can do and what we can't do. And obviously residents want to be able to use water, we want people to use water from a budgetary standpoint, right? Because if they don't use water, we don't make any money. So but obviously our priority is health and safety of the general public, making sure people have drinking water, we have fire protection. That's the ultimate goal, right? But we also want to be able to provide some service to people at a reasonable level to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, I'm going with exactly what DEP defines as essential use,
Yeah,
and that's exactly what's on the website.
and I guess my point is that whatever we choose, it just needs to be
So
more.
the only thing that was different from the first call that went out to everyone, the roll call, we added the word non-essential, I put a definition of what non-essential is. Danny, and that was, we expanded on it, added some more detail. I think the call went out Thursday evening, and by Monday morning, we added an expanded definition of it, and that was the day that the water ban actually started. So we gave people a call, a heads up, let them do anything they wanted to do over the weekend, and then Monday morning, and then we gave people a couple days to adjust and get the communication out there. We got some calls that, you know, there were some properties on Main Street running the irrigation, some private residents. We gave them a couple days to hear about it, then we started communicating the issue. The chief and I met on it and discussed how we're going to handle enforcing moving forward. The police department gets phone calls from you know, neighbors of calling on the residents that are using irrigation systems, and they respond. We do have you know, we have a policy for how we can issue warnings and fines if that gets to that level. We obviously want to try to communicate and educate the public as much as possible before we get to that level. So.
Do you get those calls, chief?
Yes.
You do? Is it usually just bad neighbor relationships, or is it just because people are concerned?
Probably a combination of both. They see it and report it, maybe because they are following it and they think everyone else should.
Yeah, okay.
It costs me 20 or 30 bucks a week to wash my car in the car wash.
All right,
Well-
thank you,
I
Aaron.
do appreciate the feedback on
I have to say, I do agree with you, David, it was confusing. I actually had to call and clarify something with Aaron. I was under a similar impression as you were when we voted that last one in.
So
Me too. I
so I
agree
guess,
with
so handheld is like with a watering can?
That's what I thought it was.
Or with a hose. So my understanding, just some clarification, my understanding when it was presented was that was what it was gonna be, and the follow-up communication that we had with DEP on a call on Monday morning, they further defined it and relaxed what was originally presented to us as an emergency all-out water ban.
So for the public record, a handheld hose spraying water, vegetable garden is okay.
As of right now,
I can't afford to have my wife in prison.
yeah, no, that's okay. If we do,
I'll
if we do
represent
have
pro
to
bono.
communicate that.
She's going next. Anyway, all right.
Can't make that trip to Framingham.
Did we ever find out, I'm sorry, while we're on this, did we ever find out whether that establishment actually has their own well that they use it?
I believe they do have an irrigation well right outside, it's right on Acton Street. I'll take a picture.
I did have someone yelling at me Sunday morning that the high school was watering the football field. I said,
That's essential.
it's,
Sunday morning?
yep,
Wouldn't they have
Water
to?
restriction?
huh?
I don't think we actually have.
I think it was Saturday
Set
night.
out
It was
there,
on
do
a
they?
Saturday night. It was, the water was on,
This past Saturday
this
night?
one, the water was on this past Saturday night.
Yeah, we actually just installed that system.
All right, yeah,
That's
they use,
okay.
yeah, that's,
Last week, because we are gonna be replacing some sod on the field between the hash marks, so we are planning on irrigating that during the allowed hours.
Okay. So does anybody else have anything to, any comments or concerns about the 4 or 5 correspondence items? Other than that,
oh, one other thing, just the golf course, is that under the same restriction?
we have wells.
Ponds?
Did they have wells? Yeah. Correct. But, just a note too, that DEP, they define golf courses, so any business that has a primary use for outdoor water is allowed to operate that business. So if we did have car wash in town, it would be exempt from the water restriction.
Otherwise, it wouldn't make much sense to
Okay.
have a car wash.
Well, I'm fine with the golf course ban, because then my drives would go longer.
They'll bounce further into the woods.
As
right.
the summer gets hotter, Terrence's
All-
game gets
All
better.
all those in favor of the correspondence? Thank you. All right, there's a consent agenda. It consists of items A through E. And make a motion that we move to accept and approve the consent agenda as shown, items A through E.
Second?
Wait a second, Mr. Donovan, thank you.
Sleeping.
Anybody have any questions about A through E? All those in favor? All right, that's good, that's done. Item number 6, oh, you must be the block party. Here we go.
I'm Julie Catronome.
Hey, Julie?
Hello?
All right, so Julie, give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna read a motion, and then we'll ask you a whole lot of angry questions.
Okay.
All right, so the motion is we move to approve a block party at the second intersection on Dix/Rio Road to Playground to Dana George Road on Saturday, July 22nd, 2018, from 4 p.m. to noon. So, do we have a second? Okay. Hello. Does anybody have any questions for Julie?
This is a repetitive block party, I think, right? We've done this in some
No, this is
capacity
the first
before, or is this
time.
completely new?
Is it new?
So we're adding another block party to the town?
We had a
meeting?
birthday party there 2 weeks ago, right? We had a birthday party at Rio Road 2 weeks ago. At the playground. Yeah. So,
Is the block party in honor of anything, or is it just a block party to have a good time?
Just a block party
Okay.
to get neighbors to
Okay.
hang out with each other and
okay. All right. I assume it's gonna be blocked off on either end somehow? Yes, no?
yeah. So we wanted to do the second stop sign at Dix in Rio, and then at the end of Dix and Dana.
Okay, but are you gonna use something physical to block off the either ends of the streets?
We usually loop it into Outlook, and I'll
Yeah.
send an email, and on Fridays, they deliver horses, and then they pick them up on Monday.
Okay, just wanna make sure. All right.
And oftentimes, since this is your first time, oftentimes, if you have little kids in the neighborhood, the police and the fire department will work with you too, to bring a
Yes,
truck
yes, I
or a
was
car.
told.
Just talk to those two
Oh,
gentlemen.
they're both here. I saw this chief. I didn't see that.
That's why they're here? No.
They came for this.
Maybe you can even get a DPW truck.
Craig will go by. All right.
Second intersection of Rio and Dix to Dana George Road.
It's like the second stop sign.
But there's opportunities for all the residents to get around the way it's laid out, I'm assuming. People can get out of their houses and their driveways and back to their house in some way, shape, or form, right?
Okay.
All right.
All right, all those in favor?
Enjoy, have fun.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
Don't
fun.
litter, don't litter.
Julie, I can mail you a permit, or you can stop by tomorrow.
I'll stop by. Thank you.
Sir? A little more water grilling?
Sure.
Just feel like waterboarding by now.
It's okay.
That's
All
a
right,
restricted
so-
use.
I know we all got copies several different times of different iterations of Aaron's work on the water rules and regulations and the sewer rules and regulations, so before I guess we'll just, anybody have any questions on either or before we get
I-
into the votes on that?
I do.
Okay.
When was the last version sent out? 'Cause Sunday I was looking at it, and the table of contents changed from last night or today.
Yeah, so I sent you one this afternoon.
Okay, so,
So the only change from this afternoon's version to the previous one was the table of contents. That last item was removed, the
Okay.
senior discount,
Yeah,
because it's no
and-
longer captured in the regulations.
yeah,
And I included the dates on the cover page to
Okay.
reflect tonight, and the dates on, I believe it's the last page, signature page on the sewer regulations, and then on the water regulations, it's a cover page, and the second page has a date for tonight.
All right, I do appreciate the update.
Yeah, all
But
the other
it makes
content's
it
the same.
difficult when I'm reviewing something and I'm preparing for the meeting, and then I go to look at it to make sure it's there and it's changed, because then I get nervous about the other stuff that I've noticed, which incidentally has not changed. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. It's really quality control and making sure that things are double-checked and triple-checked, and I'm not going to approve something when there's errors in the document. And let me point them out to you. If you go to section 13, this isn't really an error.
Which
Water
document
or
is that?
sewer?
Water.
This is water. I stopped on the sewer because I figured it's got to be checked because, you know, I get frustrated when I see these, you know, but not an error, perhaps just clumsy language on section 13 under rates and fees. There's two subsections.
David Page, please. Page?
19.
I had it, again, if it's on the same one that I was looking at, it was page 20 and 21, section 13, rates and fees. There are two different subsections under the same section 13 with claims for adjustments. One has a date limit in it, the other one does not. And it's inconsistent, and we can't approve that if it's inconsistent unless there's an explanation.
On which
Again, the water.
water? Page 20?
Section 13, rates and fees.
But you're not looking from the copy that's actually posted on board docs, is what you're saying.
Well,
Nothing
I
else has
was
changed for-
earlier,
for
I was
numbers.
last night when I made my notes, and then today when I went to look at this, it wasn't. So let me go to it, and I think I went to it before the meeting, but if you go to, let me find the page. It's under section 13, so let me go back to it.
Page 19.
So 13 starts at 19 and continues on.
Page 19. And when you go down to claims for adjustments is on page 20, the second,
Okay.
okay? All claims for adjustments of water bills shall be made to the Board of Selectmen in writing within 30 days of receipt of the bill. Continue on to page 21. Third item, claims for adjustments on bills. All claims for adjustments on water bills shall be made within 15 days in the case of semi-annual, quarterly, and monthly water bills. I can't approve that. Which one are we approving? So this needs to be edited already. We'll move on. I'm a little concerned about the language under irrigation systems. I find it somewhat confusing that we would be talking about,
Where are you, David?
again, we find it. Section 21. When you go to timing devices, it mentions 2014. I don't know why regulations that are being written in 2018 would need to reference 2014. And it begs the question about whether or not a system that's put in place in 2016 has to comply with 2018 or 2014. I don't know.
So I believe that one was a grandfathered.
I don't think we need to mention 2014 in regulations if we say that they have to be in compliance with the current regulations.
I think, okay. I'll reach back out to legal counsel because these have been reviewed and authorized by,
Well, that's concerning too, if
Oh,
council reviewed it and
No, it's saying if, you get the same thing on automobiles. You're gonna change the Massachusetts Automobile Inspection Code?
no, that's not the point.
Because it says the same thing, certain things that take place before a certain date.
My point about concerning is not this particular language here, but the fact that there was double in the previous. There was, in the previous episode that was in here on Sunday, we had, indexes that were incorrect, that were sent to us.
So the
Prepare
complaint,
to vote.
the complaint is not that the 2014 information is here, but that this wasn't on a prior edition that you had
No,
read.
that's not the complaint. It's not a complaint. It's a concern that I want, that
Okay,
we're being
so-
asked to
so-
approve.
So the concern is that the 2014 date is in here, or the concern is, I'm just asking so I know.
My concern is that I don't think that we should reference 2014 in a 2018 document.
If it has to
Because
do
they're
with.
already in everything is already in existence in 2018.
Well, there would be some systems that are older than 2014 that don't have a timing device.
Yep.
So this would be saying that if I take the date out, that every device would have to have a timing device. So even people that have devices that were installed in 2013 would then have to now install a timing device retroactively.
So the first 2014 date is establishing that there's a grandfathered approach to irrigation systems previous to this date, right?
Correct.
The October 1st, 2014 date, what is that really stating? I understand the July one, but perhaps the October one is what's confusing, David. Do you understand the use of the July 1st, 2014 one?
Well, it doesn't say July 1st, but July 2014.
I'm sorry, July 2014?
All irrigation systems existing as of July 2014 shall include a timing device capable of complying with this requirement no later than, there's no need to put the no later.
I think the second one is the one
okay.
that's kind of
Correct.
redundant, right?
So I think yeah, I understand. So I think when probably that regulation was implemented, they gave people a time frame to adjust and include an irrigation or timing system on the irrigation system.
Right.
Well, so if that's the case, you would leave the October in, because if they didn't comply, they don't apply. If they didn't meet the time requirement October 1st of 2014, then this section, you know, they didn't meet the requirements of the section, so the date should stay. If you give someone a certain amount of time to comply, and they don't comply, you can't, you receive the grandfather right if you complied during that time frame. But if you didn't comply during that time frame, you can't go back and grandfather yourself in.
Timing device capable of complying with this requirement no later.
So if you buy a used timing system from that time frame, right, and you didn't have it in place by October 1st, 2014, you can't use it. That's what that's saying. It has to be as of July 2014, but if you didn't have it in place by October 2014, you can't go back in 2015, 16, 17, or even 18 and beyond and put a 2014 system in, because you did not have it in place by October of 2014. So the dates make sense, and that's how.
Is that what it's stating? Because if that's the case, then this whole paragraph is confusing.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and.
That's what that's saying.
That's not how I read that at all. I read that as if you don't have it by July 2014, they were giving you till October 1st to actually do that. That's how it reads to me. And maybe it's right, or whether it's right or wrong, that's how I'm reading that paragraph.
Yeah, you have to have it in July of 2014. You have something up through July of 2014, but you have to have it in by October. If you don't have it in by October.
So what does it matter if they had it in by October? It's now 2018. Are we gonna go back and penalize them?
No, but if you didn't have it in by, if you take a system from July, say you get a system that was from, say, August of 2014. You buy a system from your next door neighbor. He moves, you want to buy his nice water system. You buy it. It fits within these two dates. But you didn't have it installed by October, it's no good. If you had it installed prior to October 2014, it would still be good.
Well, I disagree with the writing of that. Then this paragraph should be completely written. If that's what that means, that's not how that reads to me.
Well, I think
At all.
Aaron has said he's going to go back to the drawing board with it, and that's great.
That's why it's confusing
So
as
that we
all
can
heck
wait
now.
and see how it comes out. I have trust that you'll come out with something that works.
I think you're really articulating a bigger issue here than just, we'll get the specifics right about what's happening is Aaron the person who should be wordsmithing document? Is he administrative assistant? Is he somebody that should be, fine tuning? Where is the other ability for someone to catch these documents before they go to? Are we hiring an editing service? I mean,
No, I don't think.
because everybody, if you go to read this, I mean, he's probably doing it late at night after doing his job all day long, and I can
Great,
tell you.
I'm not casting any aspersions.
No, I'm just saying, so maybe we're seeing a lot of challenges with documentation and errors. At town meeting, we were very vocal about that the last meeting we had here, right? We're seeing issues in some of the stuff that's a legal document. Obviously, our system of checks and balances is not working properly, so we should do something about that. Maybe that's something you should take up for the next board.
The prior paragraph, too, has the same two dates in there.
Yes, I just saw that when I was looking at the.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
And the grandfather language.
Is it safe to assume we're not gonna vote this in tonight?
I'm not prepared to vote yes, but, if the majority of the board votes yes, that's the way it goes, but, and I did not even study the,
Okay, what's next?
no, that's it.
Okay. So we have those two issues.
I can adjust those. I mean, I guess I do have one question for the board, if it's appropriate. Is it, in the future, is there any chance that, I mean, I did supply these in April, is that I can get some type of feedback before a meeting? That way I can
Yeah.
make any changes
I think that's a fair-
before the next time that I come back?
That, because you did remove the senior water discount,
Yeah.
because that was the feedback we get, that at least I gave last time. Yeah.
That's
So
fair.
yeah.
So
Very
we'll
fair.
just make those, we just get an opinion on the language between July 14th and October, and then the prior one about the other two in section 13, the bills. the date of the
Removing the
bills, 30
claims
days
for
and 30
adjustments.
There's 30 days and 15 days, which one are we using?
I mean, I could just remove that line. I mean, is there a way that we can,
You're gonna remove the 15
I can strike?
days?
I would say pull out the 15-day, give people 30 days, because that's our current practice. That's what it says on our abatement form. So I would strike the 15.
Okay. So we'll just get those back and look at them again. All right, we didn't make a motion for those, so we don't have to change anything, we're just taking a look next time through.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Are you still here for the final fire and ice?
You can stay, yeah.
All right, so, we have the,
Sorry, Aaron.
Worse. So this, there's a request for a reserve fund transfer, $50,749.24 to be transferred to snow and ice under salaries. We did have quite a busy year this season responding to winter storm. The majority of the overage was from the March storms. We saw a lot of tree damage and just trying to catch up with those. We had some late invoices that came in from a couple contractors, both tree service as well as some late snow plowing contractor invoices. This was an anticipated overage, and with discussion with the finance director and the town administrator was the best way to handle this.
all right, please.
And I'm fine with it, but isn't it supposed to come to us before it goes to, aren't we just supposed to check off before it goes? Not to approve it, but just to give authority that we saw it.
Yeah, the finance director spoke to me about that this week. He's not able to be here today. The order doesn't matter. It is
Okay.
normal to do it in that other order, but
Yeah.
because of the timing of the FinCom meeting and the Board of Selectmen meetings, it got reversed.
Yeah, because in reality, the board doesn't really have any authority over the reserve fund transfer as it is, so it's just to give our
It's
acknowledgement.
really their decision, right?
All right, so motion that we move to approve reserve fund transfer of $50,749.24 for the final snow and ice bills not paid through the town meeting articles. The second.
Second.
All those in favor?
2 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Economic Development Committee, request for BEEP funds. Just,
I don't think there's anyone here from the Economic Development Committee tonight except myself, so I can speak to that.
I move to, I'll read the motion, move to allow the EDC to use the available balance of previously approved BEEP funds for the purpose of establishing the Discovery Maynard website as described in the attached letter. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. What are we doing?
I'm gonna sit this one out, just so you know. I'm gonna recuse myself from voting on this one because there's a choice in here that's a direct competitor to what I do in the professional world, so I would choose not to vote either way on this. So, you won't need my vote on this anyways.
In a quick summary, last fall, I believe the Selectmen approved the EDC to work on a marketing program that included a database component. The database was built, but the further implementation of it that was estimated to cost $2,500 was not completed because the town clerk and the town assessor's office decided that the tools they were already using met their needs and that this extra work wouldn't provide them with any benefit. So now the EDC is asking if that money can be redirected towards similar capabilities, but within the Discover Maynard project, which which I believe you're aware of, but it's a project to market the town, retail, restaurants, and so on, with a pretty dynamic web presence.
Is this, all right. So we're gonna do all town businesses, not just the downtown businesses in this?
The database consists of all the businesses, and the Discover Maynard website is targeted towards those that are likely to attract people spending money downtown, in restaurants and other places throughout the town, but they're going to be marketing the entertainment value of the community.
So it's either a yes or a no question from my perspective. Either yes, it's gonna service every business in town, or no, it's not gonna service every business in town. Yes or no?
Yes.
But only if they're gonna be spent downtown.
The
The answer was
database-
yes, we're gonna, the first answer was yes, it's gonna include everybody, but yes, only if they're in the downtown, what the district that we consider to be downtown. So the folks are like Vic on Powder Mill Road, the gym on, the kids' gym on Powder Mill Road, the auto parts place, the John Deere place, the storage place, and the places out on other parts of town that aren't downtown. Are they gonna have a voice and a visibility within this website?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions about this website development? All those in favor? All right. Affordable housing restriction refinancing. Move to approve the refinancing with a home equity loan of 21 Marble Road, a home which has an affordable housing restriction requiring Board of Selectmen approval to refinance.
It's Marble Farm Road, right?
I'll second.
Okay. So, anybody to, any more information than that, Andrew?
The affordable housing restriction at Marble Farm requires the Board of Selectmen to approve sales or refinances, home equity loans, any change of the conditions of it to prove or to provide that it remains as an affordable housing restriction. Someone could sell the property and that restriction could disappear. So this is affirming that it will stay in place. It's a routine refinance in that sense. It just requires your approval because of the affordable housing restriction.
They must not sell many, because I don't remember the last time any one of these came to us for sale.
They're only been there about 5 or 6 years, I believe, so we might start seeing more of the turnover as time goes by.
No way I read that, there's no prejudice to the town by approving this, it's pretty straightforward.
It's just to ensure that the affordable housing restriction doesn't
It's on the
disappear.
deed.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It's actually beneficial to the town.
right.
All right. All those in favor? Cable.
You don't want to take a shot at calling it the real complicated name?
Oh, please say that 3 times fast.
What?
The
Ascertainment?
compilation of ascertainment?
Ooh, we're gonna get there.
Call that.
Move to authorize the TA to send Comcast the attached compilation of ascertainment as part of the ongoing contract negotiation.
Good job.
Seconded.
All right. Practice that all day. So this is what?
Essentially, this is an RFP to force Comcast to quote on cable services in Maynard. We're in negotiations with both Comcast and Verizon, and we don't expect to have to force them to respond. The active negotiation will result in a new contract that'll be before the board and go through the public hearing process. But there's deadlines associated with this, and if those negotiations fail, the FCC allows us to essentially force their hand through this process. And it needs to start roughly 6 months before the contracts are due to expire at the end of the calendar year. So this is sort of a pro forma thing because we hope to not actually have to worry about it. But if we have to worry about it, it needs to be out there.
And really, the main thrust that I got from it that was, important are all of these capital needs that we have for WAVM that would have helped us, and I assume also this stuff here that needs to be updated over time. Just a general question, who's the attorney that wrote these documents? Is he with Lisa's firm?
He is not. He's special counsel who was recommended by me, Tellerman, and Costa. His name's Bill Solomon. I believe he was the attorney used in the last go-around. I'm not positive. It was before my time. But he's considered the cable expert in the Commonwealth.
Okay. I just didn't recognize his name. He probably was here before, but I didn't recognize his name. Okay.
Can we ask Comcast to provide a live feed for, these meetings like Verizon does? Because we get a number of, I know when we did the first few town administrator meetings there, we got some complaints. People were upset that they couldn't watch it live.
That's right. It is part of the negotiation. They've actually quoted that already. Technology's changing pretty fast, and there may or may not be less expensive ways to get there, but it's part of the goal.
Right.
Okay. All those in favor?
Who's seconded?
Melissa seconded it.
Thank you.
Okay, all in
I'm in
favor?
favor, so-
She raised her hand as well. Who spilled that water?
I'm sorry.
God, make a mess. No wonder they took your name tag away. All right, Maynard Crossing MOA, any of those guys coming, or just us?
Just us.
All right, the move to accept revised MOA providing clarifying language on timing of infrastructure improvements and issuance of permits. The second.
Second.
All right,
As a refresher, in early spring, I believe it was March, a conflicting interpretation of the timing of work that Capital Group Partners was supposed to do on and off the site came up in the MOA, and it had to do with when building permits would be issued and when the work would get done. We were all in agreement that it was a wording that was carried forward from an earlier document, and agreed to work out the language offline and then bring it back here for final approval. Attorney Witten and the attorney for Capital Group Partners completed that a few weeks ago, and the signed agreement is before you tonight.
okay. Any questions?
No, I'm convinced there was an actual specific reason why that remained in the order that it did, but, I have no objections, but something, there was a reason for it, but it is what it is.
It doesn't change the agreement, really.
No, and I guess in the grand scheme it doesn't, but
All right, all those in favor? Public safety, police and fire chief contract renewals. There's two. First one is, it moved to approve the police chief contract renewal for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so this is what we've been looking at for...
That's right. There's a summary on the public side. It's the information you were provided in more detail at a previous executive session on the negotiations with the chief. There's no changes from the last time we talked about it. It's just all in the proper documented format.
Okay.
And I have to say, we're happy to continue working with our chief.
Yeah, which one did we do first? The
This is the police.
police?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my comments would echo, and I'm going to say this to both chiefs, so I'll say it now. Thank you guys for what you do for our town. I'm very proud to have you as both as our chiefs. I'm very proud that I was involved in getting you here to town, both of you. And, you continue to really make our departments, both of them, something that we can all be proud of, so thanks.
All right, all those in favor of the police chief's contract?
Thank you, Mark.
The next one is that we move to approve the fire chief contract renewal for a 4-year term from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2022. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Slight difference on this contract in that it's for 4 years, which is allowed by state law for fire chiefs. Apparently, they have a pretty good lobby.
Oh, sure we do. All right. Anyone have any questions about this one? All those in favor?
Thank you for gutting it out, chief.
Thank you. Hopping around on
A
one
lot of
leg.
extra duty for you over the last couple of years with.
You ready to play golf yet, or you just, We're getting there. A lot of improvement. Mike and I are running away with this thing. We're way ahead in the points. All right. So NEPBA Telecommunicators Collective Bargaining Agreement. Move to approve a successor agreement between the town of Maynard and NEPBA Local 114 for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Melissa.
Similar to the police contracts, we've talked about these in detail in executive session, and the public content of the agenda lists the details. 2% COLAs, no major changes to the contract, some incentives to keep the dispatchers with us for the long term by rewarding them for staying longer by instituting a modest educational incentive. We've had a lot of turnover in that field, and it's common in that field, but when you get good ones, it's nice to be able to keep them.
Okay. This is another one we've already been looking at on to the side. So, all those in favor? Did you sign this one, David? Did you sign that one? That one just filled out. Next up is the IIAF Fire Department Agreement. And make a motion that we move to approve the IAFF Local 1947 Successor Collective Bargaining Agreement for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Terrence. Again, so everyone knows, this is something that we've been looking at as it's been negotiated, and here we are.
There's some nice changes in this one from the town's perspective, the elimination of some of the sick leave buyback provisions. There's rewards to the firefighters for earning stipends for additional professional development and training that they receive and are certified in. And I think happiest of all, we have very modest COLAs, something that we worked really hard with the fire department to get them a really fair contract. We thought it was going to come in at over 10%, and when we brought all the numbers down, it's only at 8.6% over 3 years, which was a very happy thing for us to get to at the end, with everybody already being in agreement with the details. That 8.6 includes step raises over the course of the contract.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about the firefighter contract? All those in favor?
Happy to have it done.
Done. Yes. So we got the TA report we have.
We did 17.
There's two additions to the printed report. One of them is a reminder that the master plan visioning session is Thursday night.
Yep.
Town planner also inquired as to whether or not additional board members would be assigned to the master plan. There's currently two, but one of the board members is stepping down.
Two.
Cheryl
Okay,
Steele
okay.
and Melissa Pirro are both, Levine Pirro are both members of the master plan.
So we'll wait a couple weeks to see if anybody wants to.
It was sort of like mention
Who
it,
else
so
is
people are
on?
thinking
You,
about it.
David?
Just me and Cheryl.
You and Cheryl?
Also, I don't know if anyone's interested in going Thursday. Both Cheryl and I had conflicts and can't go. If someone wants to go as a representative to the board or plans on being there anyway.
Is it the golf course?
Chris will
I
be
think-
there.
I think so.
Are you there?
Yes.
And there's going to be snacks.
Yes, there are snacks too.
Snacks? I don't know.
The town engineer asked me to also mention that at last week's meeting, or 2 weeks ago's meeting, some people from the neighborhood around 129 Parker Street were concerned about the incomplete landscaping, and he has worked out provisions with Capital Group to get the Vose Hill side of the property landscaping completed by the end of June, and the other parts of the property as soon as stock is available, but not likely before the fall. And we kind of hammered them pretty hard because this was not something that they should have not ordered in January or whatever. And for them to tell us they couldn't get the supply this time of year was very unfortunate.
All right, we did 17, so my thing, I just wanted to thank the Elks for putting on their annual Flag Day celebration and retiring of the flag, which I believe it's Sergeant Duggan coordinated with the police station and the Elks. And then to thank it was Amanda Cormier, who sang the Star Spangled Banner, Star Spangled Banner, and the God Bless America. So it was a nice ceremony last Thursday night out on the Memorial Park. And that was it for my report. And Melissa?
I don't have anything tonight.
Torrance?
Nothing.
Nothing for me.
We can hear some.
With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you all. Yeah, you guys, I'll be home in time to, you don't go away.
I'm gonna go water my
You come
plants
around
that are all
tomorrow?
done.
No.